as healthy as they currently are right now, it has been musical chairs at the wide receiver position, according to Kirby Smart. Listen, they've dealt with injuries all year at the position, but thankfully for Kirby Smart, Brian McClendon, and Georgia fans everywhere, A.D. Mitchell, their best receiver on the roster, is clearly back. Just ask the Buckeye secondary. But Ladd McConkey, their leading wide receiver this year, he's got 53 catches, 674 yards, 5 receiving touchdowns, 7 total touchdowns after this Peach Bowl. He played against the Buckeyes, obviously had that big 2-point conversion, but not sure he's under 100% healthy. Got hurt in the LSU game, and that kind of came like a blessing in disguise because it gave more reps to Aryan Smith, a guy who has been battling injuries throughout his Georgia career. He's finally healthy, and he cooked a Buckeye defender in the secondary for that big 76-yard touchdown that really got Georgia back in this game, gave them enough momentum to keep going. Obviously, they won the game. That was one of the biggest plays. Kirby said earlier this week about Aryan Smith and the wide receiver room in general, he said, Aryan has developed through not being injured. His role has increased probably with every week this season. It may not have always shown that in the stat line or in the number of snaps played. I don't think you guys can evaluate it that way because you don't see what goes into practice for 5 days, talking about the media. So he has grown and developed and gotten better and better and better. And he should really, he got more opportunities to do what he's been doing. I wouldn't call it a redefined role. It would be an opportunity because of Ladd's injury, and we didn't know how long or how hard Ladd would be able to go. And again, he was hobbling after that 2-point conversion. So I don't know if he's going to be 100% for TCU. He's going to be healthy enough to play, but Aryan Smith sure is healthy. Where did I go? He said Ladd looked good enough in warm-ups and was able to go and play. We're hoping he's even better this week, but we had to have somebody ready. And you can imagine over 28 days of preparation, there's a lot of days that Aryan was repping and doing things because Ladd wasn't able to. As we got closer and closer to the game, Ladd was doing more and more. It was a balance between the two. We've had musical chairs is what the point I'm getting to is. Most people do because people have injuries at wide receiver. But between AD, Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint, there's been a lot there. And I think Brian McClendon and Coach Monken have done a tremendous job of slicing and dicing those roles. Listen, when this room is healthy, you got a healthy AD Mitchell, healthy Aryan Smith, one of the fastest players in college football. The dude is averaging just under 35 yards a catch for his career. I mean, he's explosive. The most explosive player on Georgia's roster, at least at wide receiver. One of the most explosive players in college football. Going into the Peach Bowl, Aryan Smith only had 3 catches for 68 yards this season. In the Peach Bowl, he had 3 catches for 129 yards and 1 touchdown. Does he get those opportunities if Ladd McConkey is 100% throughout bowl preparation, does not get injured against LSU? I think that's a good question. But at the end of the day, you have to get this guy on the field. Now, it does mean taking Kearis Jackson off the field, he's a good player. He really is. He's done a lot of good things in his Georgia career. But it also means less roles or opportunities for Don Blaylock, a guy that I've been standing on the table for 6-7 years now, ever since I saw him as a freshman at Walton just take over games. I love Don Blaylock, and when he gets an opportunity, he makes the most of it. He's a very good wide receiver, but he doesn't bring that speed and explosiveness that Aryan Smith does. That also means Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint does not get an opportunity if Aryan Smith is getting it, right? A big kind of physical presence with great hands. Marcus Rosemary has earned playing time. He's an excellent blocker on the perimeter. There's no doubt about it. And he's solid when given an opportunity. You obviously have Brock Bowers, a healthy Darnell Washington. We think, well, he's not going to be 100% healthy, but I think he's going to play against TCU. But at the end of the day, the talent is there at wide receiver, and they've been dinged up for a while. Marcus Rosemary, Jack Saint has dealt with injuries. A.D. Mitchell has been hurt pretty much the entire year. Ladd McConkey's a little banged up. So they have gone through a musical chairs kind of aspect where it's next guy up. Who's going to play? Dom, we need you. Marcus, you're healthy. We need you. Kearis, we're going to need you. And it all goes back to recruiting. You have to build depth. One guy goes down. Hey, here's another 4 or 5 star that can step up, get some reps, get better, and help the team. But the end of the day, the question that he was asked that I'm talking about was about Aryan Smith and what he brings to the table for his career. Just 11 catches, 383 yards, and 4 touchdowns. When you're averaging 35 yards a catch and you've got 4 touchdowns on just 11 catches, you've got to get the ball. And he's healthy. He's flying by guys, putting Ohio State, defensive backs on their butt. He's a special talent. And when they were recruiting him, I thought, okay, this guy's a little bit of a project. He can run by anyone. There's not a single defensive back on TCU's roster who's going to be able to run with this guy. Can he play receiver? Can he run a route? Can he get open, underneath? Can he wiggle and get open consistently by just running a route and doing the little things that every receiver has to do? Still haven't seen a ton of that yet. When he's running a route, it's a vertical, go deep, or it's, a little, bubble pass, a bubble screen, get the ball in his hands and let him take off with it. But he's a downfield threat. He's a vertical threat. Ask JT Daniels, ask Stetson Bennett. It has to be a lot easier for a quarterback who has, they've got a guy that's going deep, who can run by anyone that's trying to cover him. And you can just throw it down the field. Sometimes, most of the time, he's open down the field, but he's shown the ability to make a tough catch in traffic as well. I think against the Tennessee game, he was open. Ball was underthrown a little bit, if I remember correctly. Guy, sort of on top of him, and he made the great catch. So this is a guy who needs to see the ball against TCU. You could say the same thing for all the guys. I love Don Blaylock. I want him to get more opportunities because he makes the most of them. He's looking like he did as a freshman in 2019 when he made a lot of big plays for this team. Touchdown against Florida, touchdown against Auburn, touchdown against Georgia Tech as a freshman. Had the 2 knee injuries. He's back and healthy. Made a big 3rd and long catch early in the first quarter. Georgia was down by 7, 3rd and long. The last thing they needed was to punt the ball back to Ohio State. And, they saw Don Blaylock in the slot, go out kind of a fade about 15, 20 yards down the field, one-on-one coverage, and he made the play. Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint has made plays when given an opportunity. All these guys are really good, and I think they're as healthy as you could imagine. And probably the healthiest they've been all year. It's a scary thought for TCU and that defense and those defensive backs. Ladd McConkey's going to play. Don't think he's 100%. Don't think he will be 100% for the TCU game. But even 80% of Ladd McConkey is going to do a lot of good things for you. So at the end of the day, someone's going to have to take a backseat to Aryan Smith because his speed and explosiveness is something that no one else on the roster or in that room has. And I don't think there's anyone in TCU secondary that can cover this guy one-on-one down the field. So musical chairs for Georgia, wide receiver room. Kirby spoke about that and more. You can read all of that on Dog Post, but it's working out pretty well. It is a next man up room, next man up type of team, and it's because they recruit so well and build depth, and it's talent. And all these guys are talented. If you sign with the Georgia Bulldogs, you're one of the best players in the country. I don't care where you're ranked. This staff does a great job of evaluating and understanding what type of guy they need who's going to thrive in their offense or defense, no matter what. If you can play for the Dogs, you're a really, really good football player. It's not like they got backups who they're scared to death of putting out there. Georgia's played a lot of young players. Kirby talked about that as well. Sometimes it's not so good. Sometimes it is good when they're out there. But you got to learn, and you got to get reps, in-game reps. That's how these players get better. That's how this defense was as good as last year's, but it's still one of the best, arguably the best defense in college football, because a lot of these guys played last year in backup roles and opportunities when the game was out of hand. That's helped them this year. And the young guys that they're playing, now, Jalen Walker, Marvin Jones Jr., guys who, aren't starting like Malachi Starks and haven't made as many plays as, Michael Williams. They're going to be a lot better next year because they're playing. But at wide receiver, it's been musical chairs, and it's worked out pretty well so far. They seem locked and loaded right now. They seem healthy outside of a slightly banged up still Ladd McConkey, but they're healthy at the right time, right moment. And if Aryan Smith can continue to stay healthy, I think he could have a massive 2023 season and maybe a massive game in the national championship. Wouldn't put it past him. We're digging into the championship game more and more throughout the week. Make sure you're signed up to the newsletter. A lot of great stuff coming over these next few days. Dean and Ryan are flying out to LA tomorrow. I will be out there Saturday. We've got a lot coming. Thank you for watching all of these videos. We really appreciate it. And head over to Dog Post. Don't miss any of the content we have coming up. And appreciate y'all watching this video. Stay tuned to the next one coming up right now. I'll see you over on Dog Post.